Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient. Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient.
Hi, I have here Kris Harley-Jesson to interview today, and I'm very excited to have her on the show. I met her recently, and it's been such a pleasure getting to know her. So, Kris, if you would start by giving our audience a little short biography of yourself, who you are.
I was a competitive synchronized swimmer for 13 years, went on to coaching, took a little pivot, went back to university, got a kinesiology degree, then took a major pivot and didn't use my degree and went into sales, into business. So I worked in Xerox and was in several countries with Xerox. Finally used my degree on the medical side and got into a really fun company that did orthopedic footwear. And as a result of joining that company, after being with them about 3-4 years, I took them to the UK and opened up the European division of the company, all by my lonesome. So it was a humongous challenge, which I absolutely adored because I was passionate about the product and about my customers. I loved developing that business, and I loved my customers. And yeah, do you want me to get to the end part of that?
Oh, if you want to, it's just interesting knowing where you come from, and kind of how it got you here to your current project. So if you want to talk a little bit about your current project and how you got there, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, so my position in the UK ended rather abruptly. And that was 8 years ago. And I've honestly been trying to find myself ever since. My husband and I went and spent a year in France and looked after a chalet, which was an absolute blast. And we ended up renovating it. And then he's British, and we decided that we'd move back to Canada. But we moved over to the west coast of Canada to a little island called Vancouver Island. And my kind of jobs are kind of scarce. So it's been a real challenge to find a job, a 9-to-5 job, that sort of fits with my skill set. So fast forward to Kathy Heller and listening to her podcast and her offering this beautiful free 5-day workshop that I enjoyed so much, I decided to join her course. And the course has been an eye-opener for me and has given me kind of permission to branch out to where my passions are. And that was really fun to figure out. One of the homework assignments we had was to chat with our family, friends, whoever we wanted to. They said, ask 3 people. Instead, I put it out to my Facebook group of friends because some of my friends I've known since I was 4 and 5 years old. So they know the young Kris, they know the university Kris, and they know the business Kris. And so it was really interesting to see what they came back with. And one common thread was that I'm always networking people. I'm always saying, hey, you should be talking to so-and-so. And I'm a matchmaker, not always in the love sense. It has been the love sense a few times, but so from that, I ran with it and created GigJig, which is a podcast, and I will be developing it into a referral database. So as people come into me, and I understand what it is that their skill set is, what value they bring to others, I'm going to find the people that will benefit from their skills and their values. And it'll, kind of be like a vetted skill set. And my hope is to build on it and have a referral platform. So have people that are also well connected, but in various industries, so that we have a quick opportunity to match people up and move them on together.
Oh, what a great idea. I think it's such a fabulous idea. What we're struggling
Thank
so
you.
much, everyone is struggling with connection these days. So, like physical connection. And so finding a way to facilitate that so that you can match actual people with actual people. I think that's wonderful. I love that idea.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, a take on the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it'll be hopefully the 1 or 2 degrees of GigJig.
Oh, I love that. Well, it sounds like you really have been extremely resilient in coming back. I know you said it was a number of years ago, but finding a way to make all of your pieces useful in one direction sometimes takes a little bit of a nudge. So I'm so happy that that class kind of helps you put those pieces together. Do you think
It
that
finally gave me the purpose.
good? Oh, that's wonderful. Now, what kind of qualities do you think make you resilient? Are you stubborn? Do you just keep going? I mean, we all get, despondent in certain times, but what was that thing that just that made you want to try something different?
It's a great question. When I look at resiliency, to me is the same as what made me successful in sales at Xerox. And that would be that I've always had an empathetic side, but I've also had a competitive side, and not competitive against my coworkers, but competitive against me. I always wanted to be improving. And that probably comes from 13 years of synchronized swimming
Mhm.
and then also being a coach. That competitive nature is absolutely me to a T. I'm sure if there was a DNA strand to find on competitiveness, it's in my DNA.
I like it.
And I think that's a big part of it because, um, yeah, what drove me to be successful and always achieve is again driving me now to be successful and achieve. And I lost that for a little bit because of the way things ended with the company in the UK.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but yeah, so that's one thing. And also, it's amazing, when we did that little discussion with our friends, another thing that came out was brave.
Mm,
And I thought,
mhm.
oh, I never really thought of myself as brave. But if I actually look back, yeah, at 21, I zipped off to Italy to coach. And then I was zipped off to Switzerland to coach. And I went and lived in Bermuda. And I'm always up for a challenge and haven't really, I look at some people and I call it analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis because they just analyze and then don't do anything. And I'm probably the opposite end of that. I wouldn't say on the reckless side, but I am on the opposite end of that. And that's again part of, I think, what helps with the resiliency is I don't overanalyze before just doing. Would that
Oh,
make
I agree.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I mean, a certain amount of analysis is useful, right? And smart and
Absolutely.
healthy. But it's also, and something we talked about in our class with Kathy recently. It's about taking that 20 seconds of courage. Um, Kathy, that's what she had said, and I think sometimes you
Mhm.
just have to gather your guts in hand and go with what you think will work, and sometimes it doesn't work, but often you
Exactly.
set
And we have
yourself
to
up.
trust our gut.
Yes, and sometimes you can get a great adventure out of it, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
So, what kind
absolutely.
do you have things that help you as far as self care? I find that creative people, especially people who are driven, and I count myself in there, kind of tend to run themselves ragged and don't think about things like self care. Do you do things in your daily life that are nurturing for you?
No, I've been pretty bad at that. Um, especially with somebody who has the education that I do. Um, when things went sideways, it was the opposite of self care. For instance, when my dad passed away, well, food was my comfort. And yeah, not so good. But more in recent years, though, I've understood the benefit of self-care and have been working quite hard on it. So my husband and I eat extremely healthy, try to stick to a plant-based diet. We get out and make sure that we're walking the dogs on a daily basis. We just had a discussion the other day that as soon as spring starts, we're going to create a little cross-training design out in the back garden and start doing some
Ooh.
CrossFit training, even if we have to get a big tire to haul across the back
Wow.
garden. We're going to do that. Yeah. So, and because we have a lot of fun. And in fact, this year we started curling, and
Oh.
I forgot how much I love that kind of environment. I love being on a team, having some competition that's healthy, that you cheer each other on. You get the heart rate up. Believe it or not, you get your heart rate up in curling because you've got to sweep really hard. And so that's our new healthcare. We're on a new journey now to self-care and healthcare.
Oh, I love it. And curling, it's one of those undersung events that everyone watches at the Olympics and you're like, wow, that sounds so cool. And then you forget about it till the next Olympics if you're not in it.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Oh, what a blast.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
Yeah,
that brings me very easily, nice segue to my next question, which is what kinds of things you do in your life that make you happy? What kinds of things you do for fun?
Curling is definitely one of those now. I absolutely adore it. And I think, Darren and I have been trying to get out at least 3 times a week. But also pottery. I took up pottery when I moved to Vancouver Island and absolutely fell in love with it. The only thing is we've moved into a new house and I've lost my studio space. So that's something I'm working towards, building a little studio so I can get back in there. So my husband bought me a wheel. My dad bought me a kiln. And they were encouraging me 100%. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm starting to explore my creative side. I think my creative side was always in the pool with choreography and that kind of thing. In fact, in grade 7, I had an art teacher tell me, I don't think you should sign up for art next semester. And I was absolutely crushed. And so I just thought, well, I guess I'm completely useless at that then. And this last week, I took up a portrait drawing class that a classmate of mine is offering. And I'm looking at my picture thinking, this actually looks like a human. It's really not bad for someone who was encouraged not to take an art class. So yeah, that's where I'm getting a lot of creative outlet and pleasure out of doing those things.
Oh, how exciting. And how nice to be able to prove prove them wrong to yourself. Be like, yeah, I can do it. Yes.
Oh, I tell you, Mr. Briggs, if you can hear this right now, I can draw.
Well, they say living well is the best revenge, right? So good job.
That's right.
So what kind of you said you're very close with your husband. It sounds like he's part of your support system. Do you find it hard to ask for help from your support system, or easy? And not just your husband.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I often,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I often find it harder to ask for help from the people who are closest. But I don't know if it's just me.
What? No,
asking for help.
It's not just you. Yeah, it's not just you. I'm the exact same way. And I don't understand because, with my friends with anyone, I want them to reach out to me. I'm always there, saying, look, you can reach out to me and trying to assure them of that. Yet I don't feel that same comfortability doing it the other way. So, my husband is my best friend and my confidant. He gets the best and the worst of it all. And he deals with it so beautifully. So I have to thank his mother for raising him so well. But yeah, I'm uncomfortable discussing it with a lot of other people. I have a group of swimming friends that
Uh-huh.
I think they've always been my go-to as well. And we've
Mm-hmm.
known each other since we were 8, 10 years old, and we're still
Mm-hmm.
super tight.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. It's hard as adults really to create a support system. If if you're not in,
Yeah.
regular classes, it's so much easier. So I find that interesting, and it's heartening to know that you still keep in contact with those people. That's great.
Yeah,
I hope that makes it
I
easier for all of you.
couldn't. I think it does, and honestly, I didn't realize until recently just how lucky we all are that we all still have a tight, like my school friends and my swimming friends kind of merged,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and there's a couple of marriages in there, and we've all stayed super tight. Like, they all came over to the UK for my wedding. Um, and I didn't realize just how lucky I am, because I honestly haven't created a bond with anyone in my adult life like I have with all of those people.
Right. Yes, it is. It's difficult. It's difficult. So it's nice to hang on to the people that have been there for you. That's wonderful. So,
Yeah.
what kind of daily routines do you have in your life as a former swimmer? It sounds like routines are fairly important to you. Do you still, and you said you exercise quite a
Jen, you
bit.
still there?
Is that something that is important to your mental health? Is that something that is part of your daily routine? Or do you have other things that are important
Jen, if you can
routines for
hear me,
you?
I've lost you. It looks like maybe you've muted your side.
Oh, are you still there? So, one of my questions is wondering if you have any daily routines that are important to you. I don't know, especially as a former or still athlete, are there things that you have to do every day that make it easier, or do you exercise daily, or do you write every day? What's kind of your routines?
I laugh. Um, yeah, there's what I should do and what I do. Um,
Oh,
and yeah, and we're
yep,
working on that right now.
right.
Uh, yeah, but we're pretty committed to having a daily routine. And I say my husband also he's left his job and he's working from home as well. So we kind of do
Mhm.
it as a team.
Oh,
But
great.
um, I actually get all caught up on my social media first thing in the morning from bed. And then I jump out, have a workout, go walk the dogs, and then come back for breakfast, and then come into the office.
Uh-huh.
And then the rest of the day is kind of a little bit more open. But yeah, in terms of what is regular, that's my morning routine.
Mhm. I like
Yeah.
that. For me, I don't know. It's funny, for a long time when I had very little children, I had to have routines, and I have to have
Mm.
routines, mostly just to make my brain work. I like to, not a lot of routine, but for me it's silly stuff. Like I I like to have my clothes set out the night before so that I don't have to think about it. I like to be able to like put my brain on autopilot in the morning. I don't know. I do think
I
it's
think that's
interesting
great.
that, whatever works, right? So
Yeah,
you said
and
you have,
I would like to be more like you though, Jen. I think those are good qualities.
it's more, I think of it as giving future me a present, right? So like if I set up the coffee pot the night before, future me is so grateful and so happy that past me gave her that gift. It's just amazing. So, building small.
That is a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's the only way that makes me do it. So that's there's the rub. Now you said you have dogs.
Exactly,
How
the
many?
reward at the end.
That's right. That's the only way. Now, you said you have dogs. How many dogs do you have? Or do you have other animals or
We
just
have,
dogs?
well, we did have goats, and funny how
Oh.
that came about. On our last property, we had 2 acres, but it was quite rocky and hilly. And I said to a
Mhm.
neighbor we went to a town meeting, and I said, "Oh, I think we need goats or something to cut our lawn." And he said,
Mhm.
"I can give you two." And he gave us Hans and Franz, and they were the
Oh.
sweetest things. And I never dreamed I'd fall in love with goats. And boy, that, especially Franzi, he stole my heart. And sadly, we don't have any goats anymore. Yeah. But we also have 2 dogs that we brought with us from the UK, and they're pretty special little guys.
Oh, so how much property do you have? Do you have a really big place?
We did. We used to have 2 acres, but when my dad passed away, we decided to sell mom and dad's house, our house,
Mhm.
and come together. So we're on a little bit smaller property now,
Mhm.
in a different area, but it's not agricultural, so we can't have our goats.
Well, that's okay. They sound. I've
It
always
is.
wanted
It's okay.
some.
We had 5 great years with them.
Oh, really? I didn't. I
Yeah,
know
and
nothing
we
about
even
them.
had a baby.
No.
I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Darren came home one day. We wondered, we adopted 2 other goats. So they were a brother and sister.
Mhm.
And when the vet looked at them, she said, because the brother hadn't been snipped, she said, "I wouldn't be surprised if the sister's pregnant." And we kind of giggled at that. And
Oh my.
but when she kept getting wider and wider, and we thought, is she pregnant? And I swear we looked up everything on out on the internet on how do you know if your goat's pregnant. We tried everything, and it was a Wednesday night. My husband went out and tried what's called the bounce test. You wrap your hands around and you lift up the belly and to see if you can feel anything inside. And he said, "Nope, just feels like a bunch of jello." And the next day he came home at lunchtime, and she was just giving birth to the placenta. Clover was already, and it was St. Patrick's Day, so we named her Clover. Oh
Oh.
boy, did she steal our hearts.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, how fun! And you taught yourself how to
it is.
be
And it's
goat
coming up
tenders.
to Clover's birthday. So I'm sorry, Jen.
Oh, no, no, no worries. So are you in as part of your learning with going to university and I'm interested to know if you feel like you learn better visually or tactically or by reading, which is the way that things get in your head the best. How do you learn?
Definitely not reading. And in fact, I think I'm dyslexic. I've never been tested, but
Mhm.
definitely not reading. I got the most out of going to classes and to um um what are they called when you go to the other
Oh,
to the
oh, like
labs?
lectures,
It
lectures
was
and
exactly going to the labs with the TAs. I mean, that's where I learned because we were hands on. I could ask questions. I could, listen and interact, and that's definitely how I learn. And I often wonder if that's more a creative mind that learns that way, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. Well, left brain, right brain. Um, I guess for me, like my brain's damaged all the way around, so I don't really know for me, but but I find that fascinating. My best friend is an artist, and she's so incredibly visual, and I have 3 kids who all learn so differently. I think the way people learn is they're all valuable, and I find that I learn a
Mhm.
lot by figuring out how other people learn, if that makes sense. I I love it. I think that I think learning by doing is one of the best. They say it's one of the most permanent ways you can learn something. Learning tactically, like you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's so
Yeah.
interesting. So,
I
what?
think it gets more ingrained in that muscle memory if you learn by doing.
Hmm. Now, so what's next? You have GigJig, and do you have another project on your horizon?
I do. It's called LoveJig. And the premise behind LoveJig, and I haven't done any of the interviews yet. It's just I've started chatting with people and have quite a lengthy list of interesting stories. But I just find that there's not enough sort of warm, cozy stories out there right now, and want to share. I guess where it comes from is every time my husband and I share how we met, because we met later in life. We're both our first marriage for each other. We met online. So it's every time we tell the story, I see how we both get gushy and our
Aw.
body language changes, our smiles are painted on our face because it was a lot of fun and it was special. And I think it was the key to our bonding was how we met. So many people have so many unique and wonderful stories to share that I'd like them to be heard by more people and put out some more good, happy feelings out there.
Oh, I love it. So are you looking for guests on either of your shows? Is there a way that listeners can contact you if they would like to listen, or are you still looking for
Ab-
interviews and guests?
Absolutely, I am. Yeah. So on LoveJig, I want to talk to couples and couples of all shapes, size, and forms. I want to hear your stories. If you want to share them, I want to be the one that helps you share them. And so, yeah, I've got a Facebook page, LoveGig. Also, the best place probably is my Instagram page, which is LoveGig. Um, and yeah, I mean, send me a message if you want to share your story with us, and we'll tee up an interview time. Also, with GigJig,
Mhm.
I want to talk to people that are um, maybe just starting out or struggling to find their people. Contact
Mm.
me. Let's discuss it. What I'd like to offer people is sort of a 15-minute noodle session, and that's absolutely free of charge. Let's discuss, what your challenges are, your strengths are, and if we've got a good premise for an interview and for teeing you up with some potential partners.
Oh, I think that's just a very, very useful service to offer people, and I wish you so much success with both of them. They're both very,
Thank
very
you.
interesting. Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to come talk with us today.
Well, it's been an
I
absolute pleasure, Jen. Thanks for having me.
absolutely so much. Thank you. I want to make sure that I tell all of all of our listeners to please go ahead and follow Kris at both GigJig and LoveJig on Instagram. You can follow up with her there. And Kris, thanks again. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jen.
Sometimes we have to start over. Sometimes we have to fight back. Sometimes it's all too much. Lost inside the black. Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient. Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient. Sometimes we need to lift the voices of those who've overcome and expose the ones that made the choices to stay and fight, not run.